In this video, we're going to explore and seek to answer that question that so many small and medium-sized business owners are facing and asking themselves and others, why won't my business grow? I pour myself into it. I am working 70, 80 hours a week. I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm doing everything that I know I need to do. That I think I need to do. I am confident that I have a quality product or service, and yet my business fails to grow. So let's explore that and think about it. This is a loaded question, and certainly we could spend hours exploring it and discussing the various reasons why businesses fail to grow. I think it's important to consider things on a fundamental level before we look at things on a higher level and those things that may have less of a return in terms of investment of improvement. So, the first thing I just want to look at is when you say, why won't my business grow? I think we got to start with the product or service. You want to make sure that your business does offer value in the market. And you have to ask yourself, what is your unique selling proposition? What is it that provides you competitive advantage? These days, and throughout all of history, people are careful with where they spend their money. And they're not going to just willy-nilly part with their money for something frivolous. So you have to ask yourself, what value is your product or service representing to your target market? And once you have convinced yourself that there is, a strong value proposition there, then you can start to explore things a little bit higher on the hierarchy of reasons for why your business may be struggling to either sustain or scale. The one thing that I encounter all the time in speaking with business owners is that concept of sustainability. So if you are really motivated and passionate about your business, that is the lifeblood. That's the thing that's going to drive your business forward. You, if not you, then who? You are the person who's going to drive your business. But just because you have passion, that may be motivating, and motivation is the single greatest predictor of success for an individual. But can you sustain your efforts? That all this passion may be serving as I say, the lifeblood and the force driving you forward to grow your business. But how much can you put in? As I mentioned earlier, people often think about how many hours per day they're putting in. And we like to say, do you own your business or does your business own you? And if you're young and you're full of vim and vigor and real passion for the product or service, the cause, the value you're bringing your consumer, that goes a long way. And maybe it motivates you to be able to put in those 12-hour days. But eventually you will burn out. That's unsustainable. And so, and how are you spending that time in the business is the other thing to look at. So a lot of people will, just start with a basic plan and, how do I logistically produce my product or service? How do I get the word out to my target market? And how do I logistically deliver the product or service to those that are interested? How do I collect the money? And so on. And oftentimes in the beginning, with all that passion and motivation, the effort really works and you start to grow. You start to realize sales and revenues, and you may even become profitable. But how business grows is sort of in stages. It doesn't just have a linear progression in terms of increasing sales. It's nice theoretically to look at a chart of how you project your growth to go. But what is often the case is what's necessary to scale a business and to sustain the growth is reinvestment in the business. And that might be in resources such as personnel, people to work within your business. You may not be able to continue indefinitely to produce the volume of product that's the demand is creating. So let's say you were creating a widget and you by yourself and your small team, maybe a member of your family or a few members of your team were able to produce X number of widgets, and you had sufficient demand that you created in the market and there's great value there and people want it. And then through word of mouth, or maybe you've got some good marketing efforts going on, more people find out about it and you need to create 50% or 100% more widgets. You've got to double your production. That often requires you to invest in more equipment, or it might mean that you need to invest in more personnel. And does the future sales, the promise of the future sales, will that be sufficient to be able to justify that investment? Now, in a discussion like this, it seems theoretically to be, well, the answer should be yes, of course, that's the only way you can grow a business. But when we're dealing with things and emotion comes in and we're human beings looking at real money, and you have to really make that investment in your business, you have to look at things like your cash flow and can you do it? Can you actually part with that money? It may mean the difference between being able to, in your personal life, afford your mortgage for the next couple of months. Maybe it means you will have to put off a personal purchase. You may have been planning on buying a new home or a new vehicle or going on a vacation, and you may have to put that off in order to afford an investment in your business that takes you to the next level. And that's not an easy thing to determine. And a lot of people are facing where their business won't grow because they don't sit down and take a look at that and realize, I have to invest in my business to be able to up the production. Now, of course, that requires a plan and analysis. So that's one common reason why a business won't grow, is the failure to reinvest in resources necessary to scale a business. And without doing that, we talk about almost synonymously scalability and sustainability, but they're different things, especially with really small businesses that are created by one or two individuals. Your sustainability has to do with how often you can, the law of the golden goose, how often you can go to your own personal efforts and be able to continually rely on yourself to be able to do the next thing. And that ties in with another major reason why businesses fail to grow, and that is poor management. So often people who run a business, they think of themselves as the owner, the manager, but they're also the head of everything. They're a jack of all trades. And what I observe frequently is that people fail to actually manage their business. And management, that's a whole nother video. We can spend hours on defining management. Peter Drucker is the person that I would advise you to look into some of his writings if you want some real insight into management. But for the purposes of this conversation, let's think of management as planning, for starters. Planning, where is the business going to go? And what comes along with that, or maybe financial projections. You have to plan your financial resources. You have to plan your human resources. You have to plan all those things we talked about a moment ago about, what is my unique value proposition? How will I communicate that to my target market? How do I define my target market? And we talk about the communication to a target market. That is marketing, sales, advertising, marketing. How will I get people interested in my product, and how will I logistically go about the operations of the business? What will my processes be? So all that planning is part of management. And so often small business owners are tied up day to day in operations. They are actually making it happen. And I could give umpteen examples, and if this is resonating with you, where you know you're too busy with your customers, you're actually face to face with your customers, and therefore you're not behind the scenes planning how to gain new customers. And so it's that ongoing dilemma of how much time can I spend in my business, working within my business, versus how much time can I spend working on my business and planning my business and managing it. So management is about not just planning, but also organizing your resources day to day, moment to moment, as the needs of the business change. And we do live in rapidly changing times in a market that changes. And when you run a business and you're so busy in the processes and the logistics of it that you don't have time to plan and manage things, then sometimes the market changes, things pass you by. That failure to plan, as they say, is a plan to fail. So there's a couple of really important things to consider. I just wanted to touch on this. I think we'll come back to this time and again, but ask yourself, do you actually manage your business, or are you really or do you think of management as operating day to day? And do you have a plan for how you will scale your resources, whether it's your financial resources, your equipment, your human resources, your technology, these types of things? And what can you do? I want this information to be useful to you. So when I talk about it, I hope you take something away, take a note of, okay, what can I do differently going forward? So one of the first things you may do is say, well, I'm going to set aside a certain amount of time per day or per week, per month, per quarter, per year, in which I'm going to spend planning my business. I'm going to spend planning growth for my business, and I will write down things like, what do I need in terms of all those various resources to be able to scale the business? And that'd be the first note you should take away. And then the other thing is, you need to look at yourself and ask yourself, how much can I realistically devote to this business on a perpetual basis, on an ongoing basis? And I think that's a question that people don't ask themselves, or they're unrealistic with the answer. Like I said, it may be that you're young and full of passion and energy, and you love what you do, and so you can put in a lot. But what I see happen, and I observe time and again with business owners, is they sacrifice something that they didn't intentionally sacrifice. And it may be quality time with family, relationships, and it could be personal successes. It could be that they don't have a life outside of work, and all of a sudden 5 years, 10 years pass, and you think, well, it was sustainable. I put in all those hours, but did your business produce for you what you hoped for? And so ask yourself, do that self-analysis and be honest with yourself. In order to achieve everything that I'm trying to accomplish, the planning needs to be, what do I need to do, not just within my business, but other areas of my life? How will I ensure that those relationships are strong? How will I ensure that my health doesn't begin to deteriorate or fail, and that it was all for naught? Remember, your business is, for some of you, it might be a means to an end, but for most of you, it's part of the journey. It's the enjoyment and the thing that you're passionate about, while you're also trying to accomplish other things in life. Your business may be your purpose. It may be just part of your overall purpose in life. And that's, again, goes to that being honest with yourself, asking questions, and planning. So let's start there. We'll cover this topic again in a future video. And by the way, I'm not sure if you're viewing this video on social media channels or YouTube or something like that, but wherever it is, you can comment and ask me any questions you want me to cover in a video. And you can get more and more specific. As you can see, we can just scratch the surface in 5 or 10 minutes, and we can get more and more in depth with it. But I want to know how I can be most helpful to you and your business. And we talk about wealth management, which is combined and holistic professional as well as personal success. We don't want to trade one for the other. So ask me the questions you'd like me to answer, and as specific as you make them, I'll try to get more specific. And of course, since the audience runs various types of businesses, I try to answer in a way that's more general. Today we want to talk about the resources, the planning, and growth won't happen on its own. It's not just going to happen organically because you just work hard. That's not enough. There has to be some planning. So thanks for your attention today, and we'll leave it at that. And like I said, in the comments, please ask some more questions. Thanks.